It's now time for the Pony Cake Sports Podcast with your hosts, Josh Stevens, Tim Thompson, and Tom Schultz. Woo!
Welcome back, everyone, to the Pony Cake Sports Podcast. I am your host this evening, Tim Thompson, joined with my friend and yours, Tom Schultz. Tom, how are you?
Dude, it is draft week. This is one of the best weeks of the year. Fantasy football, real NFL right around the corner. It's a great week.
About 9 days away from real football. Very exciting. We have our draft this weekend, and I am so excited. People think I'm joking when I say that this Saturday is like Christmas to me, but it is. All of our old friends, we've all been friends for anywhere between 12 and 20 years. All friends for a long, long time. Always craziness, a lot of shenanigans. And I am very, very excited for this Saturday. And we have our friend, who I believe is finally in Indianapolis for week 4 of the preseason. Or just their camp. I don't really know what he's doing. Joshua Stevens, are you there?
I am here, and I'm doing very well.
So the draft is actually at your house this weekend. You get home at about 2:30 in the morning on Saturday morning, and then at noon, at the latest, noon's when our draft starts. That means we'll start rolling in between 10 and 11 and start getting really belligerently drunk. Start hitting on your wife, giving your dog beer. What do you think about that?
It's life, Tim, and it's a life I have chosen, so I'm ready to roll.
Fair enough. Before we get started, make sure you follow us on Facebook, Pony Keg Sports. You can follow us on Twitter at Pony Keg Sports, at Pony_Keg_Tom, and at Fight Talk Tim. Make sure you check out our sponsor, Rogue Energy. It is delicious. It gets you hyped up, but not too hyped up. Pre-workout, coffee, Red Bull. You don't need any of that stuff anymore. Rogue Energy is what you need. Make sure you go to their website, and before you check out, put in the promo code PKS. Save yourself 10% and let them know that you are a PKS fanboy, you little bitch. Now let's move on. We're doing what's the word here I'm looking for, Tom? We're doing a bold prediction episode.
Yep.
And it's a lot of fantasy football. We're going to be talking a good amount of fantasy football, bold predictions for fantasy, but also into just the NFL season as a whole. Tom, I'm going to let you start. What's your first bold prediction?
My first bold prediction is Patrick Mahomes will lead the NFL in passing and will finish as a top 10 fantasy quarterback this season.
Wow.
There's a few things in the NFL that can lead to success for quarterbacks. One of the most important is their schemes and their coaching staff. Andy Reid is one of the premier offensive minds in football. He has been like that for most of his career. He's led quarterbacks such as Donovan McNabb, the average Alex Smith to fantasy stardom, and I think Patrick Mahomes is going to be the next elite quarterback under Andy Reid. You got to look at Patrick Mahomes and the weapons surrounding him in Kansas City. Tyreek Hill, probably the best deep threat in football. We've seen him torch defenses in the preseason already. He's going to continue to do that. Sammy Watkins, the number 2 wide receiver for the Chiefs. Paid like a number 1, though. He's got an elite level athletic ability. He was drafted in the top 10 of the draft for a reason. I like him this year. They got the number 1 tight end in football in Travis Kelce, who is in his prime. This offense is primed to take the next step. They're building this offense around Patrick Mahomes. They're going to let him air the football out, and that this defense is going to be atrocious. There's going to be positive game script every week in my eyes. Patrick Mahomes, lock it in.
It's interesting. I do like Mahomes this year. I like him more than I thought I would, to be perfectly honest, coming into the preseason. Started out, before watching his preseason stuff, a little bit down on him, and have been very impressed thus far. Don't think he's going to lead the league in passing. I feel like that's a bit of a stretch, but I don't hate your bold prediction of, he's going to be an elite quarterback, a top 10 quarterback, did you say?
Yep.
In the NFL this year in terms of fantasy football. Don't hate that. Josh, what are your thoughts on that? And then what's your bold prediction?
Sorry, I was choking on one of my delicious sweet chili pistachios. But
do we have a new sponsor I don't know about? What's every episode? Sweet chili pistachio.
I may have to get them to be a sponsor. I feel like every week I'm trying to get somebody else. But Patty Mahomes, I actually had him as a bold prediction as being a top 12 fantasy quarterback this year. So, Tom, I love the top 10 leading the NFL in passing. That is a very tall task for this young man to do, but he's got a freaking strong arm. And I was watching the game on Saturday afternoon. I was at the bar, and two plays stuck out of my mind, or in my mind. When he threw the ball falling to the ground, he threw the ball on a dime, on a rope to Tyreek Hill, and no feet were on the ground, and he was still able to torque the ball like it was a fastball. And then the other play, basically, it just reminded me a lot of Aaron Rodgers when he got pressure from the defensive line. He looped around, moved around in the pocket, set his feet, and still threw the ball. He didn't complete it, but the movement that he's got reminds me a lot of Aaron Rodgers and a lot of Brett Favre. It's crazy to think that this kid's in his second year. We're throwing those names around with him. Obviously, he's got a lot of growing up to do and a lot of stuff he needs to prove this season to do that. But a top 10, I can definitely see that, Tom. I like it.
And that comparison to Aaron Rodgers speaks a lot with how highly you think of one Patrick Mahomes. Josh, what's your bold prediction?
My bold prediction here, like I said, I was going to have Patrick Mahomes, but I'll go ahead and change this one up. I'm going to go with Emmanuel Sanders will outperform Demaryius Thomas in ADP and overall fantasy rankings this year. I just think with the type of quarterback that he's got in Case Keenum, when you look how he performed in Minnesota with the quicker, smaller wide receivers with Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs, I just think that Demaryius Thomas will have a role and he'll be a red zone guy. I think Emmanuel Sanders is going to have the better overall season as a whole.
That is a very interesting bold prediction, Josh. And I'll be perfectly honest, did not see anyone coming with that whatsoever. I do think you're wrong. I think the addition of Case Keenum helps Demaryius Thomas, helps try to get him back into the valuable wide receiver one, somewhere around 11 or 12 area. And I hope that for him because I've always been a big D. Thomas fan. So, but interesting. I don't hate it. In all honesty, I don't hate it. I get where your mind's at.
I would normally agree with you, Tim, but he's going to be like the Laquan Treadwell in Minnesota for Case Keenum.
All right, I'm not talking to you anymore because I hate the fact that again you were able to get Laquan Treadwell into our show. Tom, any thoughts on D. Thomas this year or Emmanuel Sanders for that matter?
Personally, I like them both this year. I think it's an obvious quarterback upgrade for both of these guys. We saw both of them kind of struggle last year. Sanders was more of an issue of just staying healthy, and Josh brought it up with Case Keenum and how he was targeting Adam Thielen last year. I could definitely see Sanders play that role, be that more of that slot guy, get more of the short intermediate routes and the crossing routes, and just be kind of peppered with target. So I get where he's coming from totally. I think D. Thomas, he's definitely being drafted a lot earlier. I think he's in the top 20 for sure. And Emmanuel Sanders, I don't have the ADP pulled up, but probably close to 32 to 34, somewhere around there.
Somewhere in that range. Sure.
But I do think that is a realistic outcome. Sanders has shown that he can be a wide receiver one in fantasy football. Yeah, that was with Peyton Manning. Case Keenum is nowhere near the level of Peyton Manning, but it's going to be a big-time upgrade at the quarterback spot. And I could see Sanders getting over 80 receptions and over 1,000 yards this year.
Emmanuel Sanders being picked at about 7.3 right now. So
that's good value.
Our consensus 37th ranked wide receiver. My bold prediction is I'm going to go to the running back position, and I am going to go with one Jordan Howard. My bold prediction is that Jordan Howard is going to finish outside of the top 24
Jesus.
He's going to not be a running back 1 or a running back 2. The Bears are trying very, 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 very hard right now to include him into the offense. If they get rolling, if they get moving, if they're going to be down in games like I think they're going to be down, Jordan Howard's value has been, when they were down, they just ran him into the ground. They just ran him because there was nothing else there, really. Last year, yes, you saw a little bit of a spark of offense outside, and Jordan Howard still got his. But if the offense goes where I believe Matt Nagy wants it to go, I truly believe that Jordan Howard is the odd man out. I believe that, yes, they're going to, he's going to be their goal line threat. I'm not saying he's not going to score at all, but I'm saying if they get going, if they get hot early, Jordan Howard could be a huge, huge fantasy bust. You see one every year. Jordan Howard's my pick this year.
We are on completely different spectrums on this, Tim. I think Howard is being slept on right now. He should be being drafted as an RB1 even in PPR formats. I like that he's been working on catching the football. It's something he has struggled with, going to the jugs machine after every practice. We've seen the coaching staff in Chicago come out and say that he's a 3-down running back in that system. And you are talking about that offense being better. I think that's good for Howard. That means the offense is going to be spread out, which he has been successful at running in the shotgun formation. That's what Matt Nagy is bringing to the Chicago Bears. They should be scoring more touchdowns. That's something they haven't been doing. I think he's definitely in the running for scoring over double-digit touchdowns. So I hate your prediction. I was going to have a bold prediction saying he was going to be a top 5 back, so that would have been interesting, but I didn't do it.
Listen, this might be a little bit of me, as you like to say, trying to sway the football gods.
Exactly what it is.
No, I've never been high on Jordan Howard. You know that.
Yeah.
I never have. But I feel like if Jordan Howard is a 3-down back, then the Bears are a 9-17. To be perfectly honest, if he's a 3-down back, if he's out there, all the time. Josh, what are your thoughts?
Luckily, I did not have a sweet chili pistachio in my mouth, otherwise I would have choked on it. But you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, and Kareem Hunt finished as a running back 4 last year in PPR format. I think it's kind of bush league that you would say that Jordan Howard wouldn't even finish as a top 24 running back. I think you've been drinking too much cough syrup and Dolphins.
Listen, it comes out, the Bears, you have said it over and over. This is the first year in how many years, Josh, that the Bears didn't draft a running back? It's a lot, right?
I know.
Right. They have other people there who can run the football, who fit that system better. There's other options there. There's other red zone options there. Yes, Kareem Hunt did it. Kareem Hunt fits that system. Jordan Howard doesn't. I hope I'm wrong.
You're wrong.
I hope so. I hope so. With the tough defenses that they're going to be facing, though.
If he finished as a top 24, if he finished outside the top 24, you're putting him in the likes of a Theo Riddick, a Giovanni Bernard, a Chris Thompson, a Khalil Powell, Jamal Williams, Kenyon Drake. I just don't see that.
As Jesse once said to Woody in Toy Story 2, if the boot fits, Josh. If the boot fits. Let's move on to my bold prediction. Oh, just made it. Tom, what's your next one?
My next one. Cooper Kupp will be a top 20 wide receiver in fantasy football this season. It's going to be Cooper Kupp's second year in the NFL. His rookie year posted 62 receptions on 94 targets, 869 yards, and 5 touchdowns. He was a wide receiver 3 in fantasy football. The addition of Brandon Cooks is scaring a lot of people right now. But personally, I don't expect Cooks to eat into any playing time for Cooper Kupp. He was brought in to be the outside wide receiver, to be a field stretcher, and that is not Cooper Kupp's game. He is primarily a slot receiver, and Jared Goff likes targeting the slot receivers. Cooper Kupp he was really impressive as a route runner his rookie year. Probably the best thing he did. Probably the best route runner on the Rams receiving corps. Averaged more target separation on average than both Cooks and Robert Woods last season. His yards after catch was also higher than both Cooks and Woods. In a short time, he became a relied upon target in the red zone. He had 13 red zone receptions last year. That was one less than both Cooks and Woods last season. I think he's going to be the beneficiary of Sammy Watkins leaving and those 10-plus red zone targets as well. I like Cooper Kupp. I think his touchdowns go up. I think his receptions go up and his yardage. I absolutely love him this year.
I love this pick, mostly because I had Cooper Kupp last year. I rode him for a majority of the year when people were down like
Yeah, you did.
Odell Beckham Jr., and it worked out. I told people how good he was, and it worked out. Makes me a little bit upset because you have 2 picks in front of me in the 5th round of our draft.
Better trade up, bro.
Pretty much guaranteed that I will not be getting one Cooper Kupp, and that's okay. But no, I agree with you completely. I love Cooper Kupp. Josh?
I have Cooper Kupp as the top 30 wide receiver, and the top 20, Tom, that's a very bold prediction. I like it. Sammy Watkins, like you said, is gone. They brought in a guy that's going to stretch the field and Brandon Cooks, so it'll be a very interesting dynamic. There's just a lot of mouths to feed on that offense. Todd Gurley, you got Brandon Cooks, you got, what's his face, Bobby Woods. You got a lot of people there, but I can definitely see it happening. It's a definite possibility. I do like that's a very, very definition of a bold pick right there.
Josh, you're up. What is your bold prediction?
All right, guys, my bold prediction. You know how we love the rookie running backs, right?
Yep.
We all do. We love rookie running backs. And I know where you guys are thinking I'm going to go with this. But I am not going to go with Royce Freeman. I am going to go with Peyton Barber and Chris Carson are going to outscore and outperform their rookie counterparts this year.
That's pretty interesting. So you think Carson outperforms Penny and Barber outperforms Rojo?
Yep.
You did a twofer there. That's pretty bold to go 2 for number 1. A parlay, never a safe bet, but you went with it. What's your thought here? Is it just that both are going to be so bad, or do you find like real fantasy bet value in Carson and Barber?
I think there's legit fantasy consideration for both of them, but I'm looking more of the low end 2, probably flex type of play. Obviously, you're not drafting these guys to be a legit number 1. That's obviously not a realistic option unless if you're completely punting the running back position, going with the no running back scheme. Then you could probably get these guys kind of late, maybe like 7th, 8th round, maybe 6th. Depending on what's happening with these other rookies. But you look at most fantasy drafts, these rookies are still getting drafted above them, which is kind of crazy to think of. I think they need to demand a little bit more respect in some of these drafts. And if you haven't drafted yet already, you should probably consider taking them a little bit earlier than what they're going.
Chris Carson, I'll agree with you. Peyton Barber hasn't really done anything to deserve respect. The one thing I will say is I'll come out and admit it, I've been wrong thus far on Ronald Jones. He's been very bad in the preseason. Let's call a spade here. He's been bad. With that said, Dirk Cutter doesn't come out and say the things that he says, which are blatantly just rude and disrespectful, with any other intentions but to motivate. I still back my comments of they thought that Ronald Jones was the guy. They were going into this season saying he's going to be our back. He has that talent. He hasn't performed that way, and it's forced the hand of the coaching staff at this point. But you're not going to tell me they spent a 2nd-round pick on Ronald Jones? They don't spend a 2nd-round pick on Ronald Jones the second for the coach to then come out and say, oh, well, that explains why he didn't catch the ball much in college, to like destroy his confidence in hopes that he never plays again. They're trying to motivate him. They're trying to get him to the level that they saw at times at USC. I think by week 5, week 6, Ronald Jones is the guy in Tampa Bay.
I think it's going to be similar with Penny. I don't have as much faith in Rojo as you do, Tim. Penny, he was drafted in the first round, battled a little bit of injury. They came out and said he should be ready for week 1. But Josh has kind of been right on Rojo the whole time. We call him kind of an idiot.
He has.
I think I had him as
Thus far,
RB5.
Yeah.
You might have had him earlier, but Josh has been comparing him to Paul Perkins the whole time, and he's been right.
Fact.
Rojo really hasn't done much.
Josh hates when I say fact all the time in episodes, but Josh, for you, this is a fact. You can come out. Paul Perkins, fact.
Bravo, Joshua. I hope it's not the case.
You should too. It's your team.
Yeah.
Bitch.
But if Peyton Barber, he looked all right at the end of the year.
Oh,
he's kind of just a guy.
Peyton Barber.
I'm just hoping that Penny comes out and eventually plays. Got him in one of our expert leagues in like the 6th round. You guys told me I was a jackass for taking him that early. I thought it was great value. I'm looking wrong right now, so hopefully that ship rights itself and he can be my starting flex for the rest of the year.
Josh, I'm skipping over you because you're muted right now anyway, so I'm going to keep it that way. I'm going to go to my next bold prediction. And to be honest, this is something that I've been predicting for numerous weeks now. And now we're getting closer and closer. Still not ready. Still not ready. Still not cleared. We're a week away. And Carson Wentz still is not cleared to play football. Guys, I've said it since June at the latest, if not since May. Nick Foles is going to start the first week of the season. And if he goes out there and he blows up, Carson Wentz, I get that he's the future. I get that he's the franchise. I understand all that. But with the way that Andrew Luck, you saw how that progressed last year, and we're here now a week away from week 1, and he's still not ready. There's some sort of issue. There's something wrong. Something did not go the way that the Eagles planned. That's just a fact. That's just a fact. There's no way in hell the Eagles would not have a timeline set up for him to be cleared 1 to 2 weeks prior of the season started. He hasn't been cleared yet. It scares me. And until he goes on that football field, I am not backing Carson Wentz. I am saying Carson Wentz is not a top 12 fantasy football quarterback in 2018. Just because I see him missing 1 to 4 games. I do see him starting unless he has a freak Andrew Luck, but he's going to miss some time because there's still some issue there.
Yeah, he didn't hurt the knee till week 14 of the season, so it's kind of later. Deshaun Watson, a lot of people are trying to compare these injuries, but that was week 7, something like that, 7 or 8 maybe. So a few weeks in advance. But yeah, you give Carson Wentz 5 or 6 extra weeks, and he'd probably be fine, which most likely he will be. But I completely get where you're coming from, Tim. Kind of been on Wentz, kind of being trying to be positive, but that has bit me in the ass before, like it did last year with the whole Andrew Luck situation. We'll see with Wentz. Hopefully, he does come back. He's being drafted too early still right now, though. He's being drafted as like a top 7 or 8 quarterback, and that shouldn't be the case. You are going to be without him for some games.
Last thing I'm going to say before Josh talks is this is a good thing. If you're an Eagles fan, this is what they should do.
Yep.
If you're saying, hey, lose Carson Wentz for 6 weeks, so be it. You won a Super Bowl. You're coming back. Have him for even the second half of the season, and he is your future. Don't rush it.
This is why you didn't trade Foles.
Exactly right. Josh?
Yeah, I would agree with you, Tim. I think he'll be finishing outside the top 12. I think he will probably come back week 3 against the Colts.
Gotta hope not.
That's just my personal opinion. I think you're gonna have Alshon Jeffrey out for the first 2 weeks. Probably Wentz out the first 2 weeks. Maybe try to bring them back together. I think that's what would make the most sense.
Just opens up the door even more for the Nick Foles controversy that I predicted months ago to happen. Tom, do you have any more? We got maybe a couple minutes left. Just 1 or 2 if you have a quick hitter.
It's not quick. It's a good one.
You're going to have to make it a quick
No, I don't have to.
You have to.
Tim?
Come on.
You're not my wife
chop,
right
chop.
now.
Chop,
Just let me
Jeeves.
be in control for a little bit.
I'm the host.
All right. My final and last bold prediction. Sony Michel will be the Patriots' highest scoring offensive player besides Tom Brady in fantasy football this year, and will be a running back 1 in PPR leagues this season. It's kind of been a rough start for Sony in his NFL career. Missed some time due to a knee injury. Just got back to practice. And it's officially week 4 of the preseason. A lot of people were worried about his ball security, that if he's going to be fumbling as much as he did at Georgia, that Bill Belichick would put him in that doghouse and he would never get out of it. I am not worried about that. Progressively, he has gotten better with his ball security. You got to think about all the positives. Deion Lewis, he left, leaving 200-plus touches in that offense, one of the best offenses in the NFL. I highly expect Sony Michel to get all of those touches, or a good majority of them. They drafted him in the first round. Bill Belichick has never drafted a running back this high, and he's going to use him. There's absolutely no way a head coach / GM is going to draft a player this high and not plan to use him. It's a perfect situation. Everyone was talking about Alvin Kamara last year, how that was a perfect spot. This is a perfect spot for Sony Michel. He's a do-it-all running back, good at pass blocking. I'm a believer in his receiving game. Good running back. Absolutely love him this year.
I like him. I know I've been down on him. I like him. But my biggest fear is now, especially with the injury of Isaiah Wynn, that was going to be a starter for them, gone for the year with the torn Achilles, I believe it was. The offensive line has a couple of question marks. I know they just secured someone long-term, but we will see. Josh, real quick, what are your thoughts on Tom Sony Michel prediction? And then one last quick bold prediction.
I'm not a firm believer in the Sonny Michel running back 1. Mid to low end running back 2 flex play for me. That's just me. My last prediction: Zach Ertz will finish as the number 1 tight end in fantasy football with 12 or more touchdowns.
I like it very much because I do think it's a bold prediction because I don't think it's going to happen. But it's a bold prediction that is reasonable. I am going to add one last one, and it's very easy. Rob Gronkowski, is it about his value? No. It is about, does he get suspended? No. Rob Gronkowski will play all 16 games of this 2018 NFL season. That's a bold prediction right there because he never does, and I just would like to see him do it, see if he actually is one of the best of all time. We are Pony Keg Sports. That was our bold prediction episode. I think we gave you them a lot of great stuff there. Running back, wide receiver, quarterback, even some tight end play. Very interesting stuff. Make sure to check us out on Facebook, Pony Keg Sports. Follow Josh at Pony Keg Sports. Follow Tom at Pony_Keg_Tom. You can follow me at Fight Talk Tim, and make sure to check out our sponsors at Rogue Energy. Rogue Energy is delicious. It replaces coffee. It replaces pre-workout supplements. It replaces any pick-me-up that you possibly use right now. Mountain Dew, Mountain Who? What? Rogue Energy is what you need. And at checkout, make sure to use the promo code PKS, saves you 10%, and lets them know who you go to for fantasy football advice. Gentlemen, this has been a fantastic episode. Again, about 9 days right now at the date of this episode. Tom, last thoughts before I let you go?
Nothing.
Josh, your boy.
Gronk's only played 16 games twice in his career.
That's exactly why it's a bold prediction, you dumb son of a bitch. Until next time, everyone, we love you.
Bro.
Peace.